the 1492 guy. I'm going to look at our civilization for a few minutes, not necessarily specific on historical references, just some thoughts, what I call traveling at the speed of war. I remember years ago when I was a kid or in high school looking up in a dictionary and happened to be looking up a European country. And now this was not an encyclopedia, this was a dictionary. And the dictionary explained where the country was and had some population and things like that, and then went through all the different border changes and wars that had gone on over time, and it went on and on and on. And I think all of Europe, that's the story over there, whether it's just because you're crowded, I don't know, people get into the habit of doing it. I'm sure there was wars all over the world, but they were a very warlike people. So traveling at the speed of war is what I call the way we go about conducting ourselves in terms of progress in our civilization. Our progress is everything. There's this, it's come what may, cavalier kind of attitude about, okay, we'll just go ahead and we've got to have this progress. We've got to move ahead. We've got to make these changes. And so traveling at the speed of war means, let's picture going way back in time. Now, if you live in a village and life is going on peacefully and you've got some opportunities to look after not only your eating and your needs, a roof over your head, but you can do customs and you can have recreation, you can make sure your children are being reared properly, have time for spiritual needs, and you've got the struggles mixed in with some good times as well too. So there's some time to organize, you could say. But at the speed of war means when there's a war going on, when you've got an army down the road and you've got word that they're coming, you don't really have the luxury, you don't have the time to do anything to organize. That's not the time for city planning. This is a time for just frantic activity, which is, again, another way of describing, I guess, what I see as our progress. It's a come what may kind of an approach to everything. We will do this regardless of the outcome, regardless of the consequences down the road. Let's go ahead and just do this. And I think that just accelerated in the 20th century, to whereas to now we have a number of things happening on many fronts, I'm not just talking physical in the world, but on a number of other fronts as well, where we're starting to now pay the price for this traveling at the speed of war. So to me, it is somewhat of a European philosophy. It puts ourselves at the center of everything. I think the 7-generation philosophy, where we're thinking of down the road, and 7 generations could be my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my parents, me, my kids, my grandkids, and my great-grandkids. There's 7 generations right there. So in one person's lifetime, they could be exposed to all 7 generations. So there's a connecting point as history flows along in that way. Now, the other kind of thinking is I'm the 1492 guy, of course, talks about Columbus. Now, his ship really wasn't completely filled with prisoners, as I used to think, but it did have a lot of prisoners. But in general, a lot of prisoners came over. They were adventurers. They were short-sighted people. They were there for a quick buck. They were there for a lark. They were there for something to do, for some excitement in their lives. So there wasn't a lot of this type of organized thinking, really, with a lot of the explorers and the way that the whole colonial situation unfolded. It was very much in that category of the European philosophy, sort of putting yourselves at the center of everything and putting our civilization at the center of everything. And you could say, well, what's the hurry? I used to like Guns, Germs, and Steel, which I turn into greed, audacity, and brutality, because I think those 3 tell the story a lot more. Guns, Germs, and Steel kind of well, excuses the Europeans a little bit, and it's one of those other sort of mental catchphrases, gymnastics that we do to try to deflect the real story, to try to deflect the real responsibility and the complicity that we have in that genocide. And I think it does to deflect it. Greed, audacity, and brutality, I think, tells it beautifully. And so no time to think, really, sort of lurching forward into the next situation. We've got ourselves into into trouble here, but we're going to just move ahead. Now we're going to conquer these people next. Now we're going to conquer these people next. And presumably a king and a queen across the ocean is sitting back and pondering and organizing this and seeing how it's going to go. But I don't think so. I think they're all traveling at the speed of war. Okay, signing off. See you soon.